A very good evening to all of you, my dear students. Welcome back to the class once again. Now you can see there are a few images that I have collected to show you all about the forest, Asal forest in Chhattisgarh. You can see, look at the different height of the trees. The trees are of different heights. All the trees are not of same height. Eventually, it is not of always that the trees will be of same height. So you can see the trees and the plants in the picture and the variety of species also. This is the dense forest. So very little sunlight comes to the ground, to the forest floor, and because of this denseness of the forest. So this is one of the photograph of the sal forest of Chhattisgarh. Let me show you a few more. Now this is a quite incident, and let us go through the text which is written there. Where when the valleys were full, painting by John Dawson. And John Dawson, it was painted by, this painting was painted by that particular Britisher. Native Americans like the Lakota tribe who live in the Great North American Plains had a diversified economy. The economy was not, you can say, equal everywhere in that particular area. That is the area known as Great North American Plains in Lakota tribe of North Native America. They cultivated maize, foraged for wild plants, and hunted bison. These are the animals which are shown in the photograph. These are known as bison. And what they have done, they have seen that these bison were just eating up their crops and eating up their maize plants also. So what they have done, they started hunting this bison. Keeping vast areas open for the bison to range was seen as the English settlers as wasteful. They can't leave these places for the bison for to graze. So they started what? They started killing these bison, hunting them so that they can use these particular places for the agriculture work. After the 1860s, the bisons were killed in large numbers. You can see between, they were killed in large numbers. These bison were killed by the Britishers, by these Native Americans. Okay, so for what? For clearing the field for agriculture products. Now you can see over here, converting sal logs into sleepers in the Singhbhum forest, that is in Chota Nagpur, May 1897. This is one of the image. You can see they are just cutting down the trees and converting them into sleepers for laying down the railway track. Adivasis were hired by the forest department to cut trees. Adivasis are the people who are living in and around the forest. So the Britishers, they used to hire those people, and they asked them to cut down the trees and make smooth planks which would serve as sleepers for the railways. At the same time, they were not allowed to cut these trees to build their own houses, है ना? वो अपने घर बनाने के लिए ये trees को नहीं काट सकते थे, है ना? They cannot cut down the trees for their personal use, for their personal purpose, for making their own homes. They can only cut down this forest, these trees, for making the sleepers only for the British government. One more image is there, my dear students. Elephants piling squares of timber at a yard in Rangoon. Yeah, they were just using the elephants also to pick up heavy logs of wood and put it in the trucks. You can see over here. In the colonial period, elephants were frequently used to lift heavy timber both in forest and at the timber yard also. So in the forest also, they were picking up the timber and putting in the trucks, and while unloading also in the timber yard, or you can say in the factory where they were using changing or converting timber into logs, for making the sleepers, the elephants were used there also. So that was also one of the image you can see. In this image, you can see, my dear students, that truck carrying logs. You can see whenever they used to make a plan to cut down the forest, to clear the forest. So before starting cutting down the forest, they used to make pakka road or kacha road, whatever, for the trucks, so that they can carry the logs of wood in the truck. So first of all, they used to make roads in the forest, so that they can carry the logs of wood to the factories for for using them in the other purposes. So you can see when the forest department decided to take up an area for logging, one of the first thing it did was to build wide roads so that the trucks could enter, you know? And why they were making the roads? For the trucks only. Why the trucks are used necessary to enter into the forest? So that they can carry the loads, or you can carry the logs of wood. Compare this to the forest tracks along which people walk to collect fuel wood and other minor forest products. You can see few people are also cycling, and they are also collecting few woods which have fallen down. They're collecting them for their personal use. Many such trucks of wood go from forest areas to big cities day in and day out. So that were all the images. Now let us see how they have begun the commercial forestry. Means they were using forest for the commercial purpose, for trading, for earning purpose only. So let us see how it raised. The rise of commercial forestry means they are going to use now forest as a commercial purpose. The British were worried. Now they were worried also about the Indian forest. That is quite amazing. And they should be worried also. There are a few reasons. The British were worried that the use of forest by local people and the reckless felling of trees. Reckless means unstoppable, है ना? Unstoppable. बिना रुके वो लोग trees को काटते जा रहे थे, है ना? The Britishers were just felling down the trees recklessly, means unstoppable, by their traders, would destroy forests. They were worried that these forests, the Indian forest would be also destroyed like their oak forest also, and Indian forest would also disappear in a mean of time, and in 2 years or 3 years. So they were worried that local people were also using the forest, and even the traders were also cutting down the trees from the forest. So that's why they were worried. And let us see what they wanted to do next. They called a German expert known as Dietrich Brandis. His name is Dietrich Brandis. Let us see the man. He is the man, Dietrich Brandis. Actually, his name might be because that he was taking a rich diet, है ना? Rich diet लेने वाले हैं, इसलिए इसका नाम क्या है? Dietrich. और जो डाइट करते हैं, जो भी फूड खाते हैं, वो क्या होता है? ब्रांडेड होता है. That's why his name is Dietrich Brandis. है ना? Rich diet, और वो भी ब्रांडेड डाइट खाते थे. Maybe I'm just joking, just kidding. I am helping you to remember his name, Dietrich Brandis. So the Britishers called this German expert, Dietrich Brandis, for what? For advice. Because he was expert in the forest department, or the forest regarding the forest or regarding the trees. So they called this man for advice, and they made him the first Inspector General of Forest in India. Try to remember the name for MCQ purpose also, my dear students. They made him the first Inspector General of Forest in India. Now let us see what this man Dietrich Brandis is advising the Britishers. So before taking any decision, before coming to the conclusion, he decided to have a view, have a, you can say, to take a round around the forest. And after taking a round around the forest, he realized the need of a proper system to manage the forest. He realized that there is a lack of system in managing the forest. Everyone just cutting down the forest. They're cutting down the trees here and there without any planning, without any future planning. So he realized that there is a need of proper system, as well as training of people also in the science of conservation. Now he brought this idea of conservation, how to conserve the trees also. So he wanted the people to train them and to launch some system of cutting down the trees. So let us see what he has done. The next thing, felling of trees and grazing had to be restricted so that the forest could be preserved for timber production. That was the first step taken by him. He asked the British government that felling of trees and grazing should be stopped, should be restricted. Stop cutting down the trees and stop the animals also from grazing in the forest. So that is the first step taken by him, and he advised the British government so that they can preserve the trees for timber production. Timber is a hardwood tree, and these type of trees produce hardwood, and they were in need of hardwood for what? For Royal Navy, for making the ships. So let us see what next. Anybody who cut trees without following the system had to be punished. That was the demand from Dietrich Brandis. He said that if anyone is found cutting trees without following the system will be punished. Let us see, we will see what is the system. Okay. He set up the first Indian Forest Service in 1864. He set up the Indian Forest Service, that is an organization, in the year 1864 and helped formulate the Indian Forest Act of 1865. So he started that organization, Indian Forest Service, in 1864, and under that organization, he set up one of the act, that is the first Indian Forest Act of 1865. Then if it is an act, then there must be some rules and regulations in that act that we will see next. So remember the name of the act, Indian Forest Act, year 1865. He started the organization by the name of Indian Forest Service in the year 1864. The Imperial Forest Research Institute, which is at Dehradun, it was set up at Dehradun in the year 1906 to teach scientific forestry. So we have to learn also what was that in that scientific forestry. Let me show you this institute also, which is there at NI also. No, it is obviously it is there. Let me click on the link and you can see. Oh, how beautiful! What a beautiful institute is, in a vast area also. It is there in Dehradun. So this was set up an Imperial Forest Research Institute. Try to remember the name, my dear students. It was set up at Dehradun in 1906 to teach what? Scientific forestry. That we will learn. What is scientific forestry in the next slide. After that, Forest Act was amended, or you can say modified, twice in the year 1878 and then in the year 1927. So in the year 1865, Indian Forest Act was implemented, it was made, and in the year 1878 there were some changes, and again in the year 1927 there were some changes in that act. So we will look up at the changes as well. First, let us see what is scientific forestry. That is our next topic. So if any one of you, my dear students, resume the class. So let us learn what is scientific forestry according to Dietrich Brandis. Scientific forestry is a system of what? Cutting trees controlled by the forest department, in which in this system in which old trees are cut and new ones are planted. That is one of the first step that is done in scientific forestry, and that was taught in that particular institute of Dehradun as well, that if you are cutting down the old trees, then you must plant the new ones also. That is the first step of scientific forestry. Next, natural forests which had lots of different varieties of trees were cut down, because the Britishers wanted only hardwood, and the trees which can provide them hardwood should only those trees should be there in the forest. Other varieties of trees which are not giving hardwood, or you can say they also wanted trees which can provide them straight wood also, and not variety, not zigzag wood. So they wanted straight trees as well as those trees which are hard, which can give them hardwood. So other varieties of trees were cut down under this scientific forestry. They don't want a lot of varieties of trees in a forest. So they want only what? Trees which can give them, which is profitable for them. And those trees were hardwood trees, that such as timber and salt trees. In their place, one type of tree was planted in straight rows called as plantation. Like in plantation, you might have seen tea, coffee, rubber plantation. So like that plantation, they started planting the trees in a straight rows so that they can cut them easily, and that is known as plantation as well. Forest official, they used to survey the forest under the scientific forestry. They have to survey, those forest officers, they will survey the forest. They will estimate the area under different type of trees, and they will make working plans for forest management. So after the survey, they will have to prepare an estimate of the area that they want to clear. They want to cut down the trees from that particular area. Suppose a forest is of 100 kilometer, maybe it may be of 100 kilometer, maybe 50 kilometer forest may be there. So they can't start cutting those 50 kilometer forests at once. So they used to make plans, and they used to, after surveying the forest, they used to decide, okay, this 5 or 6 kilometer area, first we will start from this area, and after clearing the area after cutting down the trees, they will plant these trees in the straight rows, and those trees which are only beneficial for them. So that is also under scientific forestry, that they will have to survey the forest officials will do that, and they will make an estimate plan of the area and the different types of trees, and then they will make working plans for forest management as well. Next step, let us see. They planned how much of the plantation area to cut every year. That is most important over here. कि हर साल वो कितने एरिया को क्लीन करेंगे, काटेंगे, प्लांटेशन एरिया को कितने एरिया वो लोग क्लीन करेंगे या काटेंगे हर एक साल. That was also a planning, part of planning, and that was also taught under scientific forestry. So these were the things brought down by Dietrich Brandes. है ना? The area cut was then to be replanted, so that it was ready to be cut again in some years. और वो replant इसीलिए कर रहे हैं, so that they can cut it once again after some years, maybe after 10 years, after 5 years, they can cut down the trees once again from those area from where they have already done cut down. So this is the thing, these are the steps under the scientific forestry. I hope you all have got the message, have got the things over here. That is all in this class, my dear students, for today. We will meet again in our next class. Till then, stay at home and stay safe, my dear students. Bye bye. Take care, my students, dear students.